This is Alan Weaver. I'm your teacher for the semester for the online. I am doing some PowerPoints and some short videos, I hope, on different chapters in the book here. We did the chapter 4 already with ethics. I'm going through a few things here where I'm discussing things here. I will be making ancillary comments on here in addition. Let's keep moving. This is called Understanding Business. This is the text. And we have learning objectives that are specified in the book. As I said, you could always pause these videos, jot down these notes here if you want to. Business is in the profit, the not-for-profit. Everything is a business, even a church is. And we are in a global world right now. You can't isolate yourself anymore, unfortunately. We are dependent on other nations, especially for raw materials. We cannot mine every product that we need, especially to make a cell phone. Some of these things come from Africa, and we need to have relationships with these. And we talk about entrepreneurs as well as being an employee. SAMMY HAGAR is a musician, and he's been around quite a few years. As I said, I typically expect students to be college age, maybe a little bit older. So if I sound a little bit like an old coot sometimes, I am older, okay? But I want you to know about these things. And I have these things in here where it says name that company. And this could be a question on a homework or a quiz assignment here, naming the company, who this company was. It is in the book. I want you to read the book. And as I am saying again, these videos that I'm doing are not replacing the text. I'm highlighting things that I want you to know. And goods and services are in business. You could either sell goods like Christmas cards, or you could have services like mowing lawns, walking dogs. You have to find a market need, and you're not exactly going to be selling sand to the people in Saudi Arabia any more than ice cubes to Eskimos. And it talks about a lot in this book, business and being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is somebody who has his own business, and a business is a place that employs people. I personally am self-employed. Housatonic College I do work for. I do a lot of consulting in many areas, especially in technology and in marketing. And I want you to know the difference between these three: revenue, profit, and loss. Revenue is the money that I gross. For example, let's say I'm selling t-shirts at a fair. I generated $1,000. However, I had to pay for the materials and labor and stuff. So if I had $800 in labor and materials, I had a $200 profit. However, if I spent $1,500 on materials, t-shirts, and labor, I have a $500 loss. So don't always think somebody self-employed is rich or a business owner. They have to make money. You're seeing stores going out of business left and right in this economy. And whenever you start a business, there is a risk. Not everything makes a profit. They can all make different amounts of profit. Even if you have two delis right next to each other, one can be making a huge profit, another one a small profit. And they could be charging different prices, providing different service. And you've got to know what those risks are. And it talks also in the book about taxes. We all think we're just paying taxes. We don't know what they're going to. It lists what these things are, and a lot of people don't realize what we're getting for our tax dollars. It is a good deal. Believe it or not, America is not the highest tax nation in the world, though we may complain about it. A couple of things also that I mentioned here about standard of living and quality of life. Standard of living, it's detailed in here, and it's what you can buy and service. Goods and services you can buy with what you earn, what you have. However, you could be in some places here, like Hong Kong, Japan, Australia. They have a very high quality of life. However, things are very expensive. I have been to Europe where you can see a gallon of gas going for $10 a gallon instead of what we're paying in the United States. Stakeholders. It talks about who gains, and it talks about the different types of businesses that we have in this country. this is something important to know. I'm not going to tell you everything what is important to know, but you will figure it out, because even though you are young, possibly inexperienced, you do have an understanding as you've been buying, working, shopping, and dealing with goods and services for more than a few years, such as insurance, car payments, etc. Outsourcing, insourcing. What it is, and this is a big thing going on in America now, where outsourcing is we go out of the country to get our t-shirts made. Insourcing is where foreign companies are coming into the United States. Subaru is growing fast. It's a very popular, high quality car, and they're doing a lot of manufacturing in America now. That car that might have been made overseas 4 years ago is now American made, so they are employing American workers. Nonprofits, they are places to work for. They don't have to make a profit, but believe it or not, they can make a profit. As an example, I do a lot of teaching and tutoring, and I work at different schools and stuff. Goodwill has set up some training centers. The revenue or the enrollments at some places have gone down drastically or non-existent, because they have classes in Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and other technology, which has, I'm not saying putting us out of business, but we have to regroup ourselves when I'm at that continuing ed program so that we can compete with these non-charging things. And it talks about well-known nonprofits, and some of them, they do pay people here. One thing I will add, if you're going to be donating to a charity, use Charity Navigator to make sure you're given to a good organization. I do know the Salvation Army is an excellent place to donate to. Most of their money goes to the cause. One thing I will say, you get a phone call from somebody asking for a donation, I would just hang up, because they're probably spending 95 cents on the dollar to get the money and only a nickel going to the cause. And it talks about here revenue, profit, few things here for test preparation in here, things that will be asked on quizzes, homework, discussions after the video that I'm going to have posted online. Ups and downs of entrepreneurship. Self-employed. I don't have kids, so I don't have to worry about that. But I don't get vacations, and if I take a couple of weeks off to go away, I have no income coming in. However, I do have the luxury of taking 3-day weekends in the summer, where I can go away and to do things over the holidays that other people don't have, so it balances out. And it's who takes the challenge. Very interesting. A lot of women now own businesses, and Latinos are doing a lot there. They're growing, and it's really, and I would say, in my personal experience, I'm seeing a lot of foreigners taking the risk. And it talks about women in the workplace, and you could see a lot of times now the women are earning more than the husbands, and more women college graduates. At my college here where I teach, I'm seeing more and more women in the classes. And these are the 5 factors of production. Again, there are these little test prep questions in here. Advantages of working for others. You have a guaranteed paycheck, but then you never know if you're going to get laid off. And you might get benefits like health, vacation, etc. Know the 5 factors of production. Talks about the business environment. You got the global, and you got the social, the technical, the economic. Again, in the book here, I'm trying to keep this video on the brief side, showing you a few things here. Talk about government's role in business. And I would say in some countries, in Japan, for example, government partners with business to make things work, where it's not a fighting. In America, a lot of business people are saying they're being stymied by regulation. Yes, that could be true, but you also have to have safe products. You don't want ladders that collapse on the first step, or I should say the top step. Talks about corruption. America does rate pretty high in integrity. It talks about different countries here. Ethics, okay? Yeah, I had you do the first video where it talks about ethics quite a bit. A lot of people, and there's a whole bunch of things with this. Some people could be at work all day on time, but they're playing with Facebook and video games. They're stealing from the company, and it's okay to take a 10-minute break here and there to just do an R&R, but when you're doing this all day and ignoring work that should be done, I think you know what I am saying. And technology, the benefits. Yes, there's a lot of benefits, but the other thing too is a lot of people spend too much time on their email. Personally, I would say check your email twice, maybe 3 times a day. It depends on where you're working. When I'm working for a client and we're doing a lot of projects at one time, I will check my email every 45 minutes or so. I'll even pick up the phone because I'm trying to produce and get things moving because we have a deadline to meet. However, personal email once, maybe twice a day. And the great thing with technology, I can do work for somebody in Arizona. I could do something for somebody in Australia. It is great. And there's more and more freelancers. It's called the gig economy. There is an assignment that I am doing with students about writing up some job or responses to jobs on Craigslist. You'll see that written up separately. E-commerce. I think you all know what that is. There's two different ones. Business to consumer. That's me buying a paperback novel from Amazon. Business to business. You own a car manufacturing company or Ford. They're buying parts from another company. A lot of the purchasing and procurement is done online now. It has changed that whole thing. I was a purchasing agent at one time for a few years in manufacturing. Changed a lot. What I had to use as my skills 25, 30 years ago are totally different now, but you still have to know how to negotiate and get a good contract. Cyber attacks. You have to be careful, have good passwords, know what you're doing, have security if you're doing online stuff here. You know what identity theft is. You want to be careful when you're doing transactions online or at the bank or at a restaurant. And methods here to protect things here. One thing, don't open up links in emails if it's supposedly from your bank. The chances are about 99% they're fake. Customers are more savvy today than they were years ago. They are also working with companies where the staff can be a lot more savvy too, and where they have the responsibility to take care of things immediately, which is great. It goes into a lot of things here where the staff is trusted. Demography. And all it is studying ethnic groups, age, race, gender, income. People making $600,000 a year are going to buy a different car than the average person making $48,000 a year. And you've got all these demographics. The younger people are a growing group. Middle-aged people like me, we're growing too. We're living longer. Chances of us living into our 80s is very high. Breakdown by race. And they're talking about how things are going to change in the next few years. And diversity, it's more than just minorities or females. Population shifts, single-parent households, and these are providing business opportunities for consultants, entrepreneurs, etc. Global environment, more free trade. I don't know what's going to happen in this country in the future here, but we have distribution here, advances in communication systems. One thing I will say, English is the international language of business. No matter what business you're in, you've got to be fluent in English. I would also add knowing other languages such as Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, and other languages because we're a wide world expanding. And it talks about the cost of the global environment, especially security and insurance. And yes, there are wars. I don't think the world has ever been completely at peace. And it's talking about in here. Let me just hit the back screen. Doesn't go back there. But let's talk about Gordon Ramsay. He had an opportunity. People, when they're flying, want to eat an upscale meal, and they will go there. And we're going into here. Talk about greening. We're trying to be cognizant of our environment. Plain and simple. Again, more opportunities for business. Again, talking about other questions in here. Evolution of business. We started off with the agriculture, thousands of years. Manufacturing, I would say, started in the 19th century. Service area, which is what we're in still today, and information based. More detail